Hi, I'm PC and this is Dan. Welcome back to part 2 of the 10th Busiversary. Flying Focus has done a lot of work over the past 10 years, and it's been on a shoestring budget too.
Yeah, we have to thank Portland Cable Access, which has a facility that's free and open to the public. We produced almost all of the 450 show that we've produced right here in this building. A lot of groups don't even make it this far, and we're really lucky to have a supportive community here in Portland, Oregon that understands TV is not just a tool for government and corporate propaganda. Mm-hmm. Last week we watched clips from the first 9 years of Flying Focus, and producers from the last year introduced clips from their shows.
This week we have about a dozen more clips for you to see, and if you like what you see, grab a pencil, paper, write it down, contact information, give us a call. Thanks for watching. I'm here with Dan, and we're going to talk about 3 tapes that you've done on human rights.
Yes, this first tape shows Bill Schultz, the director of Amnesty International USA, talking about the importance of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
Human rights crimes are illegal. We sometimes rarely stop to remind ourselves of that. They are in violation of international law derived from a remarkable little document called the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights was passed by the United Nations in 1948 and articulates 30 articles, 30 rights, which every single one of us can claim simply because we were born human beings. In the past, the Bill of Rights, our Bill of Rights, the French experience with the Declaration of the Rights of Man, all of these had provided rights to individual countries and their citizens, but the Universal Declaration was the first to provide rights to every single human being, even, remarkably, even to my enemies. And it is upon the grounds of the Universal Declaration and the covenants and treaties which have derived from it that we can reply to those who would claim that female genital mutilation, for example, is acceptable because it is part of the cultural traditions in which it is found, or that torture is acceptable because in some countries, so the argument goes, torture is part of the cultural ethos. These are all arguments that fail to recognize that genocide and all human rights crimes are violations of the law. And if we respect the law, we have to do what we can to enforce it. That's why it's so important that there be an international criminal court. And that's why it's so unfortunate that the United States has given lip service to such a court, but has said we will support it only if Americans are exempted from being under its cover.
We're talking now about East Timor and Burma, a tape you did?
Yes, in this segment we're going to see Edith Morante, who is going to talk about the importance of activists getting the message out about the people in Burma who are being persecuted by the military government.
I want to emphasize the importance of small actions. The letters and petitions signed by Amnesty members, the prayers, and prayers make a huge difference for the Burmese people. The boycotts and postcards to corporate executives, the phone calls to elected officials and candidates to keep them aware of human rights issues, the local legislation like Portland's owned Burma law. These all add up to support the people inside Burma and other oppressed lands. In spite of every attempt to clamp down on information, in Burma, owning an unauthorized fax machine or computer modem can get you a long prison sentence. The people inside do find out about those actions, and it does encourage them. One time years ago, I was on the seacoast of Burma in a pretty remote area, and I was interviewing people about what had happened to them when the soldiers came to their villages. And I was using a translator who was speaking the Mon language, which I didn't understand. And as he explained to them what I was doing there, I kept hearing this word, amnesty. And so I stopped him and I said, well, I'm not working for Amnesty, but I do promise that I will get what these people are saying to Amnesty. And my translator said, oh no, that's just what the word that we use in our language, meaning people who are interested in human rights. So amnesty had become a generic Xerox or Kleenex type term in that very remote area, very isolated part of Burma. So what you do does penetrate to those areas. And these small actions, small words make a huge difference.
Dan, you've been with Flying Focus 2 years now, Flying Focus Video Collective, and you're going to tell us about the tape you did of Kenya?
Yes, this is Anne Gatumbi, who works with women in Kenya on the issue of domestic violence.
Very good. Let's look at that tape now.
So what are we doing with the problem of violence against women in Kenya? I think as anywhere else in the world, the various forms of violence women experience are not very different. Women are beaten every day. Women are raped every day. Children are abused every day by people, probably in the family, their fathers, their relatives, their neighbors. But also, there's another form of violence probably that women in Africa suffer that is not probably experienced by other people in probably the West, probably here in America. We have the problem of female genital mutilation, and that is cultural violence. We have the problem of wife inheritance, which is cultural violence. We have the problem of early child marriages, which is cultural violence. And we have a problem of girls not having equal access to education, which is another form of cultural violence. And what we do at the coalition is that we have programmed our activities to reach out to the communities, to educate them. And in our education and outreach program, we reach out to students in primary schools, in secondary schools, in colleges, and in universities. And we reach them with a message of the universality of human rights. We teach them to respect each other's rights. We teach them to realize that it is not okay to be beaten. We try to disabuse them of the socialization that they've been socialized into, that it is okay to be beaten and take it, it's okay to be raped and take it, or it's okay to beat your wife and take it. Because they've been it's a long process. They've been socialized into this process.
Lindsey, how did you get involved with Flying Focus?
Well, I've always been interested in documentary film, and so I found out about Flying Focus, and I thought it was a good way to put my energy towards working on issues that people might not ordinarily hear about and get them thinking about things they might not ordinarily think about.
Was the October 7th something that was along those lines?
Of course.
What did you do?
Well, October 7th was the day that the U.S. began bombing Afghanistan. So there was an emergency plan to meet to protest at Terry Shrunk Plaza. So I showed up with my camera and started taping.
Let's see what you found.
Today the bombs have begun to drop on Afghanistan. We don't know how many people have died today. We don't know how many people have been killed by the Tomahawk missiles. We don't know how many people have been killed by the carpet bombing, very likely carried out by the B-52s. And we don't know how many people have been killed yet by the Special Forces activities carried out under the cover of darkness in Afghanistan today. But today we do know what we're doing here today. We're trying to give voice to a different America than what we see when we turn on the television every night.
It is not enough to see each other in every rally. It is our duty now to broaden this movement, to reach into the churches, to reach into the minority communities, the people of color as people like to call them, into the suburbs. This is a stand for justice and peace.
And U.S. out of the Middle East. We want food and we want peace. And U.S. out of the Middle East. We want food and we want peace. And U.S. out of the Middle East.
From Afghanistan to the Middle East, stop the war, work for peace.
Let's stop the billions budgeted for slaughter and corporate bailouts and redistribute those funds to people around the world who need it most. of labor organizer Mother Jones, who a century ago said, "Pray for the dead, but fight like hell for the living."
Earlier this year, a member of Portland's Catholic worker community, Petria Malone, went to Colombia with Witness for Peace. She visited both the big city and the tiny villages, but everywhere people knew about the U.S. policy, which is actually undermining the possibility of peace and stability, and it's known as Plan Colombia. The video here is not great, but the content is stuff that you're not going to see anywhere else.
I said something like, I need to do something about this. And particularly my Catholic worker community didn't let me forget that. and then it also began to ring true for me that it was meant for me to go. The delegation itself was aimed for 100 people. My first impression of the country was seeing, as we drove into Bogota itself, how there were areas of undeveloped land where there were shacks and people living. And in the corner of that small parcel of land, there would be a giant billboard advertisement. There was a very stark contrast already of the affluence and poverty within the country. We heard from persons who told us that they were very happy for our presence because we came not to critique the Colombian government, but to critique the U.S. government, and kept a focus on U.S. policy, and that our role was to come into Colombia, to hear the stories, to absorb the suffering, the pain, the joy, the struggle, the community of the people of Colombia, and bring it back to the United States.
It's no accident that the U.S. sees this as a geopolitical piece for them, having lost Panama, having been criticized about Vieques. So you start to look at where they need to have a military stronghold. They just finished or settled in Manta in Ecuador, which is right about in this area, right here. There is also talk of an interoceanic canal that they will cut through. I don't remember, I think it's maybe around here. So here, the displacement is very intentional. It's dealing with establishment of this canal process. It's opening up more drilling and oil.
Finally, I put together a tape that was recorded over a year ago by PC along with Mike Blaylock, and Mike couldn't be here tonight, but the show is about media literacy.
This is a tape that was put on by Oregon Peace Institute, and it was called Weapons of Mass Distraction, and I love it because it gives you an idea of the things that they put on to keep you from knowing what's really going on.
Critical viewing is essential for us to really understand what's being told, whether it's in print media, whether it's in news media, whether it's in the films that we watch, the video, whatever type of media that we're consuming. It's essential to really look at it closely and through a lens of critical thought. One of the things that we're going to talk about tonight, and it's a large theme in the scope of media violence, is looking at the fact that all media messages are constructed. There's no coincidence. When you read a newspaper article, when you look at an image on a billboard, it doesn't just so happen that two words are next to each other, or two people are next to each other, or two images are next to each other. Very deliberately, millions of dollars have gone into this decision to construct things in a very particular way for a very particular reason. So I have some images that I wanted to show you about men and women being depicted together. And again, these aren't like the only images of men and women being depicted together. And quite honestly, I mean, I've been spending a fair amount of time looking through images, and there are an increasing number of positive images of men being more feminine and of women being, well, actually that's not true. There aren't any more positive ones of women being less sexy, but there are men being less, you know, macho. There's sort of a new gay chic thing of that is even in GQ magazine and whatnot, but the power dynamics within the relationships still exist. She's been swept off her feet. How many women in this crowd have dreamed about being swept off their feet? only to learn that such things don't actually exist in reality, right? And if they did, we wouldn't want them, right?
Hi, Barb. We're back.
PC.
And we're going to talk about 4 tapes that you have completed. Tell me what they have in common.
Well, these 4 tapes don't seem like they have anything in common. One's about prisons, one on prostitution, one on peace, and one on homelessness. But what they do have in common is that all of these groups are marginalized in the United States.
How many of y'all use chapstick? I used to use chapstick, and you use it, your lips crack up, you need more, you lose the chapstick, and then you gotta buy more chapstick. And so one day, this guy told me, stop using chapstick. You don't need chapstick, your lips are supposed to peel as the seasons change, and then your lips adjust and they make their own natural oils. So I stopped using chapstick 4 years ago, and it worked. Then I started thinking, why are we such suckers that we're taught to think that, we're taught to use the pseudo solution to a non-problem, which creates the problem, which is chapped lips and our addiction to chapstick, right? So, it's the grid. So, a lot of things in our life are like chapstick, right? Prisons are chapstick for safety. Acquaintances are chapstick for real friends. The suburbs are chapstick for community, So there's a lot of things in the world that are like chapstick. Most of our public policy is chapstick.
So that program was taped by C.J. Check.
His second.
With Flying Focus, right? And I think it's the only one that you weren't involved in this year that I edited. So this one coming up about prostitution is the only one that I actually taped this year. I think you helped
set that up.
Exactly. Let's take a look.
Andrea Dworkin is another important writer and survivor of prostitution who has talked about the idea of early sexual violence being a precursor to prostitution. She's called incest, the boot camp for prostitution. And she says that men who sexually abuse their children, neglect or abandon their children, do most of a pimp's work for him. It's been estimated that men are beating their wives or partners every 15 seconds in the United States, and more than half of all homeless women are on the run from domestic violence. And so battery has been singled out by Andrea Dworkin as well as another mitigating factor to pushing women into prostitution. Racism and classism maximize oppressive social and economic conditions that make poor women, women of color, and white ethnic women particularly vulnerable to prostitution. And all of these factors are compounded by an unequal application of the laws prohibiting prostitution. Whisper found that women of color were arrested more frequently, they served more jail time, and they were fined higher fines than their white counterparts. Whereas pimps and tricks are rarely, if ever, convicted for their crimes. And 80 to 90% of prostitution is pimp controlled, what research has been finding, what people in the business of working against prostitution have been finding. I personally have never talked to a woman who hasn't had a pimp in her life. Pimps are usually psychopathic and sadistic. The feelings and needs of others have no controlling effect on them. They're usually adult males, but they can also be teenagers and women.
This next program is from the Peace Fest, celebration of peace, and we've got a couple of workshops on this clip.
And who taped it?
It was Mary Enslow and
Mary Jane,
her daughter, right, and Mary Ellen Claire.
Very good. Let's take a look.
Okay.
I remember an amazing story of a cantor who was the head of a synagogue in St. Louis, or Lincoln, Nebraska, and there happened to be a paraplegic man who was a neo-Nazi, and I mean, he was like putting out this incredible amount of vindictive stuff and inciting skinheads in the area, and but this guy was a diabetic. He'd lost his legs. He was really bad shape, and all of his hatred was kind of coming out, and they responded to him with love. They had it to give. They gave it to him almost immediately and quite fearlessly. And it broke through to this person. He spent the last days of his life in these people's household, and I was driving on the freeway on 405, and I just had to pull off and just sob. It was just amazing the power that,
This exercise was not designed to put anybody in a box or out of a box, so to speak. I'm using the shapes there. But really to just take a look at our differences that we have, and really all of our differences, we really need all of our differences to work together to create that team that we're really looking for. Because when we're working together as a team, I don't know, when I'm putting together a team, I'm looking for people who have all of these skills or help me out, attributes.
Yeah.
That's the word I was definitely looking for. To really help me make a complete team.
Looking at the shapes kind of gets us beyond the, certainly the colors of who we are, or the religious, or, you know, the things that separate us. Right. Because there's circles that are all different colors and beliefs.
So kind of to draw us away from our outward differences and really bring us to what's, to me, what's most valuable. It's what you hold inside.
The next clip is about Dignity Village. Dignity Village is an intentional community of the homeless under the bridge in Portland. This press conference was in response to an emergency order for them to vacate. As a result, they came up with alternatives for a lasting community.
Because that's what the shelters are, just to give people a place to sleep at night. It doesn't give people a chance to recuperate from going through a traumatic trauma, or losing their work, or breaking up from a spouse, or leaving an uncomfortable situation, or even getting yourself weaned from drugs or being an ex-offender of the law. They let you in at 8 o'clock at night and kick you out at 5:30 in the morning, and you have nothing to do from that time. So what Dignity Village provides is stability for a person to take a breather or two and say, whoa, I messed up, or whoa, this is what I have to do. I have to construct my, search my inventory and construct my lifestyle a bit different in order to become a better citizen again.
One of the complaints that I hear most frequently from residents is that they don't feel like they have control over their lives. They feel like they're being manipulated and shuffled through a system. And they don't really have a say in what it is that they need to do to get themselves off the streets or into housing. And the difference with Dignity Village is that people are allowed to come together and pool their resources as a community and find their own solutions for how they're going to get off the street. Because people know how. I mean, if people want to get off the street, they know what they have to do. But they don't like feeling like a commodity, feeling like cattle being shoved through the system. The village is a place where people can stabilize and have their basic needs met and feel safe for the period of time that they need to get themselves together, get themselves collected, experience a sense of community with others that are in a similar situation, and do the things that they need to do to find housing and to get off the streets.
So this final clip is from the alternative media panel at the End Corporate Dominance Conference.
Is that the one taped by Kyle?
Yes.
Okay.
And you were on this panel.
Right.
With Kathleen Stevenson, the news director at KBOO, and Dave Mazza, the editor of the Portland Alliance.
So we had radio and print.
Right, along with TV. And this clip is you responding to Don McIntosh, the moderator, asking whether you should kill your TV.
Very clever. Let's take a look.
I advocate that you not kill your own TV for some reasons other than you might think, you know, just in the medium that I'm in, don't destroy what we're doing. If you look at Studio B in Serbia, B22, what happened in Somalia, where one of the first things they did was to go after the TV station. Look at Italy, when the past head of state got to his position of head of state by buying up TV stations. You might recognize that not only the populace, but more empowered entities see a great value in the communications network. If they're going to take control of power, the first thing they want to go after is the means of communication. So I would approach it from that way. I would also say, would you burn all your books? You don't kill the messenger if you don't like the message. We would think more in terms of, if you don't like the messenger or the message, put your own message out and make sure that you're able to get on the means of getting a message across. It behooves you not to become an ostrich and put your head in the sand and say, I don't like what's going on, I'm just not going to deal with it. My dad used to say, you can either make a choice or it's going to be made for you.
So if you're tired of mainstream media trivializing important issues, demeaning women, and glorifying war,
and not being able to have a say in it, contact us, let us know what you'd like to talk about, and document it, say your piece. Contact us at 239-7456, area code 503. See you soon.